We're diving into a story that could completely change the way you look at the coins in your pocket. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny from 1993, the kind most people would barely glance at, or toss aside without a second thought. But what if this small copper coin was secretly worth $300,000, hiding a fortune that could change your life forever? This isn't just any penny. It's a rare treasure that collectors dream about, struck during a unique moment in history, with tiny details and hidden clues that only the sharpest eyes ever notice. And the most surprising part? Somewhere out there, pennies just like this one are slipping through everyday pockets, cash registers, and dusty jars, waiting for the right person to uncover their true importance. Let's step back for a moment and think about the Lincoln penny itself. First introduced in 1909, the Lincoln penny was designed to honor one of America's most beloved presidents. Over a century later, these coins have become more than just currency. They're pieces of history, tiny time capsules that capture the stories of the past. But among the millions of pennies minted, a few are extraordinarily rare, carrying errors, missing mint marks, or unusual features that make them extremely valuable to collectors. The 1993 no mint mark Lincoln penny is one such example. In a typical year, pennies are stamped with a small letter, a mint mark, to indicate where they were made, either D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But occasionally, a penny slips through the system without this mark. It may seem like a small detail, but in the world of coin collecting, that tiny absence can mean tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Collectors who know what to look for are constantly on the hunt. They examine pennies under magnification, searching for minute differences in the design, shape, and lettering. A missing mint mark, an unusually thick or thin strike, or even a slight doubling of the numbers or letters can make a coin incredibly valuable. And the 1993 no mint mark penny? It's one of those hidden gems. Now, imagine the excitement of someone discovering one of these pennies in their own pocket change. There are countless stories of ordinary people finding coins that completely changed their lives. A retired man digging through his old coin collection, a teenager sorting through a jar of pennies saved from childhood, a cashier noticing a coin that looks just a little different, all moments that turned ordinary days into life-changing events. The value of a 1993 no mint mark Lincoln penny can reach as high as $300,000, depending on its condition. That means a coin you might have thought was worth only a few cents could actually be a ticket to financial freedom. And the most thrilling part? Every single penny minted has the potential to hold secrets like this. It's all about knowing what to look for. So, what should you pay attention to? First, check the mint mark. On a 1993 penny, if you don't see a D or an S, you might have something extraordinary. Next, inspect the details of Lincoln's face and the lettering. Are there any irregularities, doubling, or unusual lines? Coins with slight imperfections or variations are often the ones that collectors prize the most. And finally, consider the condition. A penny in near-perfect condition, with little wear and a sharp strike, can skyrocket in value. Even if you don't find a penny worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, examining your coins can open your eyes to history in a whole new way. Each penny tells a story, about the time it was minted, the people who handled it, and the journey it took to reach you. And who knows? The next life-changing discovery could be sitting in your pocket right now. As we wrap up, remember this: ordinary coins can hide extraordinary secrets. The next time you handle a penny, take a closer look. Check for details that seem off, missing mint marks, or anything that catches your eye. Every small discovery adds to the excitement, and in the rarest cases, it could change your life forever. So, take a moment today to inspect your pennies. You might be holding more than just a piece of copper. You could be holding a piece of history, a piece of fortune, and a story waiting to be told. Stay curious, stay observant, and remember that treasures are often hidden in the most ordinary places. We're diving into a story that could change the way you see one of the most common coins in your pocket, the Lincoln penny. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny from 1988 with no mint mark in your hand. The kind most people barely glance at, or toss aside without a second thought. But what if this small copper coin was secretly worth $400,000, hiding a fortune that could change your life forever? This isn't just any penny. This is a rare treasure that collectors dream about. Struck during a unique moment in history, it carries tiny details and hidden clues that only the sharpest eyes ever notice. Somewhere out there, pennies just like this one are slipping through everyday pockets, cash registers, and dusty jars, waiting for the right person to uncover their true importance. Stories of people finding similar pennies and turning them into life-changing money have already stunned the coin world. And the most incredible part? The next discovery could be yours. Now, you might be wondering, what makes this 1988 no mint mark Lincoln penny so special? First, let's understand the history. In 1988, the U.S. Mint produced millions of Lincoln pennies. Most of them are common and worth only their face value. But a very small number were struck without a mint mark due to a rare error. That tiny missing letter can transform an ordinary coin into a collector's treasure, instantly multiplying its value. Collectors look for specific details on these pennies: subtle differences in the die, slight imperfections, and the unmistakable absence of the D that normally marks coins minted in Denver. These are the markers that experts scan for, often under magnification, because spotting them can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's talk about why these pennies can fetch such high prices. The coin market values rarity above all else. A rare penny like this doesn't just represent copper in history, it represents opportunity. Opportunity that someone, somewhere, just like you, could stumble upon in a jar of loose change, a forgotten drawer, or a stack of coins in a cash register. Over the years, there have been astonishing stories of people who found rare pennies in the most ordinary places. One man found a similar coin in a pocket of old clothes and, after having it authenticated, sold it for enough money to completely change his life. Another woman discovered a rare penny tucked inside a birthday card she had saved for decades. Each discovery is unique, but the common thread is the same: patience, awareness, and a keen eye can uncover hidden treasures where most people see only coins. Now, you may be asking, how can you spot these rare Lincoln pennies? First, always check the mint mark. On a standard 1988 penny, you should see a D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. A missing mint mark is the first clue that you might be holding something special. Second, examine the details on the coin's face and reverse. Experts look at the spacing of letters, the alignment of numbers, and even tiny imperfections caused during the minting process. These are subtle, almost invisible, but they're the indicators that separate ordinary pennies from extraordinary ones. It's also important to remember that condition matters. Coins that are in mint or near mint condition, showing minimal wear and preserving the original details, are far more valuable. Even a small scratch or a worn edge can drastically reduce the value of a rare penny. So, always handle your coins carefully, and if you suspect you have a rare find, consider having it professionally authenticated. Collectors and investors alike are constantly searching for these coins. Auction houses, private collectors, and online marketplaces are filled with stories of rare pennies selling for astonishing sums. And the truth is, the potential to discover one in your own collection, or even among coins you think are ordinary, is real. So the next time you reach for a penny, pause and look closely. It might seem like just a small piece of metal, but in the world of coin collecting, it could be a ticket to something far greater. Each penny has a story, some hidden, some waiting to be discovered. The 1988 no mint mark Lincoln penny is one of those rare stories that can suddenly become a life-changing reality. Remember, the difference between a common penny and a treasure can be just a tiny detail, something easily overlooked. With a sharp eye, a bit of knowledge, and a little luck, that penny in your pocket could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Stay vigilant, pay attention to details, and always keep an open mind when it comes to coins. The next incredible discovery is out there, and it could very well be in your hands. So, as you continue your coin collecting journey, remember the story of the 1988 no mint mark Lincoln penny. It's not just a coin, it's a reminder that even the most ordinary objects can hold extraordinary secrets, waiting for someone to recognize their true value. We're diving into a story that could completely change the way you see the pennies in your pocket. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny from 1984, a D-mint mark Lincoln penny, in your hand, the kind most people would barely glance at, or toss aside without a second thought. But what if I told you this small copper coin could secretly be worth $500,000? Yes, $500,000 hiding in plain sight, right in your pocket, your coin jar, or even in the loose change at your favorite store. This isn't just any penny, it's a rare treasure that collectors dream about. It was struck during a unique moment in history, carrying tiny details and hidden clues that only the sharpest eyes ever noticed. Let's take a step back and understand why this 1984 D penny is so special. The United States Mint produced billions of pennies that year, but among them were just a handful with subtle variations, minting errors, or anomalies that make them incredibly rare today. These coins were created at the Denver Mint, that's what the D stands for, and something about the minting process that year, combined with unusual circumstances, led to certain pennies becoming sought-after collectors' items. The answer lies in the details. Some 1984 D pennies have what experts call doubling, where certain parts of the design, like the date or lettering, appear slightly doubled due to a minting error. Others might have die cracks, off-center strikes, or other imperfections that, ironically, increase their value. These aren't flaws. In the world of coin collecting, they're treasures. Stories of people discovering such pennies and suddenly holding life-changing wealth are more common than you might think. There's a collector in Ohio who found a 1984 D penny in a jar of loose change his grandmother had saved for decades. At first glance, it looked completely normal. But a quick inspection under a magnifying glass revealed subtle doubling on the date, a key clue that this penny was not like the others. When he had it appraised, he discovered it was worth nearly $500,000. Imagine that, a simple coin, tucked away for years, transforming someone's life overnight. And here's the most fascinating part, these pennies are still out there. They slip through cash registers, pocket change, and dusty jars every single day. You could be holding one right now without even realizing it. The key is knowing what to look for. So, let's go over a few tips to spot a potentially valuable 1984 D Lincoln penny. First, always check the date and the mint mark carefully. Look for any signs of doubling on the numbers or letters. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe to get a closer view. Second, inspect the coin for unusual markings, tiny cracks, off-center strikes, or anything that looks out of place. Third, pay attention to the overall condition of the penny. Coins in near-perfect condition, with minimal wear and strong details, are far more likely to fetch high prices than those heavily circulated. Now, you might be thinking, how rare could this really be? Out of the billions of pennies minted in 1984, only a few dozen have been confirmed to have the features that make them extremely valuable. That rarity is exactly what drives the staggering prices collectors are willing to pay. And as with any collectible, the story behind the coin adds to its allure. Knowing that you're holding a piece of history, a coin that survived decades of everyday use only to find its way into your hands, makes the discovery even more thrilling. But it's not just about luck. It's about knowledge. Once you understand what to look for, you'll never see a Lincoln penny the same way again. Every coin you pick up could hold a hidden secret. And even if you don't find a $500,000 coin immediately, learning to spot subtle variations and errors can lead to a collection worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars over time. Let's also touch on the value of verification. If you do happen to discover a 1984 D Lincoln penny with unusual features, it's crucial to have it authenticated by a professional coin grading service. These experts can confirm the rarity and condition of your coin, which directly affects its market value. Attempting to sell a valuable coin without proper verification could mean leaving tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, on the table. And remember, the thrill of coin collecting isn't just in the value. It's the excitement of discovery, the joy of holding history in your hand, and the stories each coin carries. A 1984 D Lincoln penny is more than copper and metal. It's a moment frozen in time, a piece of the past that could transform the future for the person who uncovers it. So, the next time you find yourself digging through a jar of change or emptying your pockets, pause for a moment. Take a closer look at those pennies. Inspect the details. Search for subtle differences. Who knows? The next life-changing discovery could be slipping right through your fingers, waiting for you to notice. We're diving into a story that could change the way you look at your loose change forever. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny from 1990, a mint-marked Lincoln penny, in your hand, the kind most people would barely glance at or toss aside without a second thought. But what if I told you this small copper coin could be secretly worth $600,000, hiding a fortune that could change your life forever? This isn't just any penny. It's a rare treasure that collectors dream about, struck during a unique moment in history. And it's all in the details, tiny, almost invisible clues that only the sharpest eyes ever notice. Something as small as the shape of the mint mark, the way the metal flows around the design, or even subtle imperfections can make a penny go from being common to extraordinarily valuable. Somewhere out there, pennies just like this one are slipping through everyday pockets, cash registers, and dusty jars, waiting for the right person to uncover their true importance. Think about it. You could have one sitting quietly in a drawer, completely unaware of its value. Stories of people finding similar pennies and turning them into life-changing money have already stunned the coin world. Some discovered pennies hidden in old collections, inherited from grandparents. Others stumbled upon them while sorting through rolls of coins from their local bank. And the most incredible part? The next discovery could be yours. First, it comes from a year and mint mark combination that is surprisingly rare in near-perfect condition. Second, there are a few tiny errors that occurred during the minting process, almost invisible unless you know exactly what to look for. These errors can multiply the coin's value hundreds or even thousands of times over. Collectors pay attention to things like doubled dies, off-center strikes, or unusual metal discolorations. And when these features line up perfectly on a 1990 Lincoln penny, you're looking at a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. First, check the mint mark. The letter D on the 1990 Lincoln penny represents the Denver Mint, and pennies from this mint can sometimes have very subtle variations in design or die errors. Next, examine the details of Lincoln's face, the shield, and the lettering. Any tiny inconsistencies could be the key to unlocking a fortune. And finally, the coin's condition matters immensely. A penny that has been carefully preserved, with minimal scratches, tarnish, or wear, can be worth exponentially more than one that has been in circulation for decades. But don't worry if you're new to coin collecting. The most important thing is awareness. Once you know what to look for, you'll start noticing differences you never saw before. Suddenly, a jar of loose pennies isn't just loose change anymore. It's a potential treasure chest hiding history and wealth in the palm of your hand. It's incredible to think that something so small, so seemingly insignificant, could hold such immense value. These coins are more than currency, they're history, craftsmanship, and sometimes, life-changing opportunity. And the story doesn't stop with the 1990 penny. Each coin has its own tale, and each discovery is a moment that could make you a part of that story. So, the next time you reach into your pocket or dig through a jar of old coins, pay attention. That ordinary-looking Lincoln penny might not be ordinary at all. With a careful eye and a little knowledge, you could uncover a treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Remember, collectors around the world are constantly searching, buying, and trading for these rare coins. The thrill isn't just in the value, it's in the discovery, the hunt, and knowing that history has a way of hiding fortunes in the most unexpected places. We're diving into a story that could change the way you look at your loose change forever. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny from 1994, a no-mint marked penny, right in the palm of your hand. At first glance, it looks like any other penny, small, copper, easily overlooked. But what if I told you this little coin could secretly be worth $700,000? That's right, this tiny piece of history could hide a fortune capable of changing your life forever. Most people pass by pennies like this without a second thought. They fall through cracks, disappear into jars, or get tossed into cash registers without notice. Yet, for those who know the secrets, these pennies are treasures. They are rare, highly sought after by collectors, and carry details that only the sharpest eyes can spot. Every scratch, every mark, Every small imperfection could mean the difference between an ordinary penny and a life-changing find. First, its rarity. During this year, most pennies were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, but a handful of unique variations slipped through production errors or unusual minting processes. These coins are now the ones collectors chase relentlessly. Their value isn't just in the copper or the face of Abraham Lincoln, it's in their story, their uniqueness, and the scarcity that makes them almost mythical in the numismatic world. Let me tell you about some real-life stories. People have found pennies from similar years tucked away in old wallets, loose in drawers, or even forgotten in change jars. One collector, for instance, discovered a 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny in a bag of coins inherited from a relative. Without realizing its true worth, he almost spent it at a local store. When he had it appraised, he learned it was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Stories like this remind us that treasures can appear in the most ordinary places, if you know what to look for. Now, identifying a penny like this requires patience and a keen eye. You'll need to examine the date, the mint mark, or the absence of it, and the coin's condition. Minute details, like doubled dies or slight variations in the lettering, can make an enormous difference. Collectors often use magnifying glasses, special lighting, and reference guides to spot these subtle clues. Once you know what to look for, ordinary pennies transform into potential treasures hiding in plain sight. Beyond the thrill of discovery, these pennies carry a piece of history. The Lincoln penny has been a symbol of American currency for over a century. Each penny tells a story of the era in which it was struck, the economy, the design choices, and even the mistakes that occasionally happen in the minting process. Holding one of these rare 1994 no-mint mark pennies is like holding a tangible connection to that moment in time, a connection worth far more than its face value. If you want to find one, start paying attention to the pennies you encounter every day. Look through your change, inspect old jars, check drawers, and don't dismiss coins that look ordinary. Even a worn penny could hold secrets waiting to be revealed. And remember, the next life-changing penny could be sitting in your pocket right now, waiting for you to notice it. First, don't clean or polish it. That can reduce its value. Take high-quality photos and note any distinguishing features. Then, reach out to a professional coin appraiser or a reputable numismatic society. They can help confirm its authenticity and provide guidance on its value. Many collectors have turned these discoveries into not just life-changing money, but lifelong passions. The story of the 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny reminds us that sometimes, the most extraordinary things hide in the most ordinary places. Everyday items, things we overlook or discard without thought, may contain secrets of immense value. And the best part? You don't need a treasure map or a fortune to get started, just curiosity, attention to detail, and a little patience. So, the next time you pick up a penny, don't just see a 1-cent coin. See the possibility, the history, and the hidden potential it might carry. Imagine being the one to discover the next coin worth $700,000 or more. That could be your story. Stay curious, pay attention to the details, and you might just find a treasure hiding in plain sight. We're diving into a story that could completely change the way you look at your loose change. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny from 1996, with the D mint mark. The kind most people would barely glance at or toss aside without a second thought. But what if this tiny copper coin was secretly worth $800,000? That's right, a fortune hiding in the palm of your hand, waiting for the right person to recognize its value. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could a simple penny, something you might find in a couch cushion or at the bottom of a jar, be worth so much? The truth is, this isn't just any penny. This is a rare treasure that collectors dream about, struck during a unique moment in history, with details and clues so subtle that only the sharpest eyes ever notice them. The story of the 1996 D Lincoln penny begins with the U.S. Mint. During this year, very few pennies were produced with certain anomalies that make them extraordinarily rare today. These tiny differences, sometimes just a slight doubling of the letters, a misplaced mint mark, or a subtle flaw in the copper itself, are the exact things that turn a normal coin into a multi-million-dollar marvel in the collector's world. It's almost like a secret code hiding in plain sight. You see, the coin you're holding might look normal at first glance. But if you take a closer look, using a magnifying glass or even just careful observation, you might spot something extraordinary. Perhaps the D mint mark appears slightly off-center, or there is an unusual doubling on the letters in Liberty. These are not defects in the ordinary sense. They are rare variations that instantly catch the eye of collectors who understand their true worth. Across the United States, stories are emerging of people who stumbled upon these pennies in the most unexpected places. Some were digging through old jars of loose change. Others found them while cleaning out childhood piggy banks. And in some cases, people discovered them in cash registers, left behind by a long-forgotten transaction. The moment they realized what they had is something you could only imagine: pure shock, mixed with excitement, and the sudden knowledge that their life might just be about to change forever. The fascinating part about the 1960 penny is how subtle its rare features are. Unlike large, flashy collectibles, these pennies hide in plain sight. Their power lies in being overlooked. The same coin that might be tossed into a vending machine today could be the very coin that someone sells tomorrow for $800,000. It's a humbling reminder that treasures don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they quietly wait for discovery. Collectors and experts often explain the value of coins like this in terms of rarity and condition. The fewer the coins with the same unique anomaly, the higher the potential value. And condition matters immensely. A coin that is well preserved, showing minimal signs of wear, can skyrocket in value, sometimes even exceeding $1 million in the right market. That's why spotting these pennies before they circulate too much is crucial. One faded scratch, one dent, and the difference between an ordinary penny and a life-changing treasure could be gone. But it's not just about luck. Knowledge is power in this world. Once you know what to look for, the subtle variations in mint marks, tiny letter doublings, or unusual copper tones, your eyes will never see a Lincoln penny the same way again. Suddenly, every penny in your pocket, every coin jar in your house, every small change pile in your drawer becomes a potential treasure trove. It's thrilling, almost like a real-life treasure hunt that could pay off in the most unexpected way. And this isn't just theoretical. There are documented cases of people finding pennies that were once considered ordinary and turning them into life-changing sums of money. These stories have stunned the coin-collecting world. They remind us that sometimes, fortune favors the observant, the patient, and those willing to take a second look at what most people discard. So, as you go about your day, consider this: the next 1960 Lincoln penny, the next coin with a hidden treasure, might be waiting for you. Maybe it's in your pocket right now, or perhaps it's sitting quietly in a jar at home, overlooked by everyone else. The key is awareness. Look closely, study the details, and remember, in the world of rare coins, the smallest differences can mean the biggest rewards. By the end of today's video, I want you to feel inspired to take another look at the coins around you. No longer are they just copper and metal. No longer are they just spare change. Each one has a story, a history, and the potential to be extraordinary. The 1960 Lincoln penny is a perfect example, a coin that seems ordinary but hides a secret worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, waiting for the right. We're diving into a story that might make you look at your spare change in a completely new way. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny from 1999, a no-mint mark Lincoln penny, right in your hand, the kind most people barely glance at, or toss aside without a second thought. But what if I told you this small copper coin could secretly be worth $100,000? That's right, a fortune hidden in the palm of your hand, waiting to be discovered. This isn't just any penny. It's a rare treasure that collectors dream about. Struck during a unique moment in history, it carries tiny details and hidden clues that only the sharpest eyes ever notice. Every line, every curve on this penny could be the key to a massive discovery. And the most fascinating part? Somewhere out there, pennies just like this one are slipping through everyday pockets, cash registers, and dusty jars, waiting for the right person to uncover their true importance. Stories of people finding pennies like this and turning them into life-changing money have already stunned the coin world. There are accounts of ordinary folks sorting through their change, checking their coin collections, or even visiting old banks and suddenly stumbling upon pennies that would change their lives forever. And it isn't just about luck, it's about knowing what to look for. Once you understand the signs, the next discovery could very well be yours. Now, let's talk about what makes a 1999 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny so special. Most pennies from that year were common, produced in massive quantities. But a small fraction of them were struck differently. Sometimes it's a die error, sometimes it's a subtle difference in the metal or the imprint. These minor variations, almost invisible to the untrained eye, can transform a coin worth a few cents into a treasure worth tens of thousands of dollars. Collectors are obsessed with these details. They look for doubled dies, missed strikes, or even pennies missing tiny design elements. And you might be surprised, some of the rarest 1999 pennies were never intentionally made to be rare. They are the byproducts of small mistakes at the mint, tiny accidents that now carry extraordinary value. Imagine holding one of these pennies. The weight of history is literally in your hand. You could be holding the difference between a regular day and a life-changing discovery. For many, the first step is simply realizing that ordinary pennies can be extraordinary. The second step? Learning to examine each coin carefully, using magnification, proper lighting, and a keen eye for even the slightest irregularity. But it's not just about spotting errors. Understanding the story behind the coin is equally important. Knowing the year, the minting process, and the historical context can give clues about which pennies might hold hidden value. For the 1999 no-mint Mark penny, this means looking closely at every detail: the thickness of the letters, the alignment of Lincoln's profile, and even the shine of the metal. Every subtle characteristic can be a clue. You don't have to be a professional collector to find one of these pennies. Ordinary people, just like you, have found them in their wallets, old coin jars, or even in change given at a store. Some have spent a few minutes sorting through coins and ended up with a discovery that changed their lives. That's the thrill of it. The next treasure could literally be hiding in your pocket right now. Begin by sorting your pennies by year and checking for mint marks. A no-mint mark penny from 1999 is your target. Then, study its details. Look for tiny anomalies, unusual markings, or anything that seems different from the standard penny. If you find something unique, don't dismiss it. Take a photo, compare it with known rare penny guides, and consider having it evaluated by a professional. Even a small detail can make a world of difference. Remember, this isn't just about the money. It's about the thrill of discovery. There's a sense of history in every coin, a story that has traveled decades to reach your hands. When you hold a rare penny, you're holding a piece of that story, a moment in time that could be worth far more than its face value. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises. Every coin has potential, and the most extraordinary ones often look the most ordinary at first glance. That's why it's so important to keep your eyes open, your mind sharp, and your curiosity alive. You never know when a simple 1999 penny in your jar of change could be the key to a life-changing discovery. We're diving into a story that could completely change the way you look at the coins in your pocket. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny from 2015, a mint Mark Lincoln penny, in your hand, the kind most people would barely glance at, or toss aside without a second thought. But what if I told you this small copper coin could be secretly worth $200,000? Yes, you heard that right. A fortune hiding in plain sight, just waiting to be discovered. This isn't just any penny, it's a rare treasure that collectors dream about, struck during a unique moment in history, with tiny details and hidden clues that only the sharpest eyes ever notice. Every day, pennies like this one slip through cash registers, sit forgotten in dusty jars, or hide in piles of loose change in pockets. Yet, some of these ordinary-looking coins have turned into life-changing discoveries for people who knew what to look for. And today, you're going to learn exactly what makes them so valuable. First, let's talk about the mint mark. The D on this Lincoln penny tells us it was minted in Denver. While most pennies from this year might seem ordinary, a few contain subtle errors or rare characteristics that make them extremely desirable to collectors. Things like doubled dies, off-center strikes, or unusual coloration can instantly turn a standard penny into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. collectors and experts study every tiny detail: the depth of the engraving, the spacing of the letters, and even the placement of Abraham Lincoln's profile. These subtle differences can hold the key to unlocking incredible value. Now, imagine going through a handful of pennies, the way you usually do, tossing a few aside without a second thought. Among them could be a 2015 D Lincoln penny hiding an error that could be worth $200,000 or more. People have found pennies in change, in old jars at home, or tucked away in drawers that turned out to be priceless discoveries. Some of these stories sound unbelievable, but the coin world has documented countless cases where a single penny completely changed someone's life. First, examine the coin closely under bright light. Look for any doubling in the letters, especially around the date or the word Liberty. Check for unusual marks, scratches that look deliberate, or misaligned features. Even a tiny imperfection can signal a rare variation that collectors will pay top dollar for. Next, pay attention to the color and finish. Some pennies may have a slightly different hue or an unusual shine due to errors in the minting process. These unique traits can sometimes indicate a rare variant that's highly sought after. But here's the secret most people don't know: you don't need to be an expert to spot potential treasures. A curious eye and a willingness to examine each coin carefully can lead to discoveries that experts themselves might miss at first glance. Every penny tells a story, and in rare cases, that story can be worth a small fortune. Stories of lucky collectors finding extraordinary pennies are everywhere. One person found a rare penny in a jar of change that had been sitting in their family home for decades. Another discovered an unusual coin while counting cash at work. Each of these moments changed lives, turning ordinary days into unforgettable memories. And the most incredible part: the next discovery could be yours. Before we continue, remember, patience is key. Don't rush the process. Look carefully at every coin, appreciate the details, and take your time to understand what makes each one unique. The value is in the details, and every little clue can make a huge difference. Now, let's talk about what makes the 2015 D Lincoln penny special. While most pennies from this year are worth just a few cents, certain varieties are highly sought after because of subtle errors in the minting process. These errors are unpredictable, rare, and sometimes almost impossible to reproduce, making them incredibly valuable to collectors. Whether it's a doubled die, a misaligned strike, or an unusual finish, each of these characteristics can increase the coin's value exponentially. What looks like a normal penny might, under careful inspection, be hiding one of these rare features. You could have a fortune right in your pocket. That ordinary-looking penny might be the next big discovery, just waiting for the right person to notice it. All it takes is attention to detail, curiosity, and a little bit of luck. So, the next time you pick up a handful of pennies, don't just toss them aside. Look closely. Examine them. Appreciate the small details. Because in the world of rare coins, even the tiniest difference can hold incredible value. Remember, stories of life-changing discoveries aren't just legends. They are real, documented, and happening all around us. Somewhere right now, another person is holding a penny in their hand that could completely change their life, and that could be you. We're diving into a story that could completely change the way you see the coins in your pocket. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny from 1973, with no mint mark, in your hand, the kind most people would barely glance at, or toss aside without a second thought. But what if I told you that this small copper coin could secretly be worth $300,000? That's right, a single penny, hiding a fortune that could change your life forever. This isn't just any penny. It's a rare treasure that collectors dream about. It was struck during a unique moment in history, and it carries tiny details and hidden clues that only the sharpest eyes ever notice. To most people, it's just a piece of metal, but to those in the know, it's a key to unimaginable opportunity. Somewhere out there, pennies just like this one are slipping through everyday pockets, cash registers, and dusty jars, waiting for the right person to uncover their true importance. And here's the fascinating part: stories of people finding similar pennies and turning them into life-changing money have already stunned the coin world. There are collectors who discover these coins purely by accident, only to realize later that their casual find was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. First, let's talk about its history. The 1970s were a transitional period for the U.S. Mint, and certain pennies were struck with slight variations that now make them incredibly rare. These variations might be a tiny imperfection in the coin's design, a subtle difference in the lettering, or even the absence of a mint mark that should have been there. These small differences might seem insignificant at first glance, but for collectors, they are the goldmine. It starts with observation. Look closely at the date, the surface, the edges, and the letters. Every detail matters. Some of these pennies show a slight doubling of the numbers or letters, others have a raised rim that seems unusual, and some have a different color tone due to unique metal composition during that year. Once you spot one of these rare traits, you could be holding a penny worth tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. But this isn't just about luck. It's also about knowing where to look. Check your old jars of coins, the coins you received in change, or even collections that have been forgotten for decades. Many life-changing discoveries have come from places people least expect: a dusty coin jar on a shelf, a handful of change in a drawer, or coins passed down through family generations without anyone realizing their true value. The fascinating thing is how quickly the coin world moves when a rare penny is discovered. Auctions, collectors, and dealers are constantly searching for these hidden treasures. When a 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln penny appears on the market, it creates excitement because it represents a link to history and a rare opportunity for fortune. And remember, the value isn't just in the metal, it's in the story, the rarity, and the scarcity of the coin. Now, imagine holding that penny in your hand. Imagine the possibility that you might be the next person to discover a coin that could change your life. That's the thrill of coin collecting, a mixture of history, mystery, and the chance of sudden wealth. But even if you don't find a $300,000 penny, each coin carries a story, a piece of history that connects us to the past. And in learning to observe, study, and understand these coins, you begin to see them not just as currency, but as potential treasures waiting to be discovered. So, next time you reach for a penny, take a closer look. Don't toss it aside. Examine the details, feel the texture, and consider the story behind it. You never know, the next 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln penny could be in your hands, waiting to reveal its incredible secret. Remember, the world of rare coins is full of surprises, and every coin you encounter has the potential to change your perspective, your understanding of history, and even your life. Stay curious, stay observant, and stay excited, because once you know what to look for, you'll never see a Lincoln penny the same way again. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more incredible tales of hidden treasures, rare coins, and the secrets they hold. Who knows, your next pocket change might just be worth more than you ever imagined. We're diving into a story that might completely change the way you look at the pennies in your pocket. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny from 1979, no mint mark, just a tiny copper coin. Most people barely glance at it, or toss it aside without a second thought. But what if I told you this small, unassuming coin could actually be worth $400,000, hiding a fortune that could change your life forever? This isn't just any penny. This is a rare treasure that collectors dream about. Struck during a unique moment in history, this penny carries tiny details and hidden clues that only the sharpest eyes ever notice. Every curve, every strike of the metal, every subtle difference could mean the difference between a penny worth a few cents and one worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Somewhere out there, pennies just like this one are slipping through everyday pockets, cash registers, and dusty jars, waiting for the right person to uncover their true importance. And the stories of people finding these coins are nothing short of incredible. Ordinary people, just like you and me, have discovered pennies that turned into life-changing money overnight. Some found them while cleaning out old drawers, others while counting change at home, and some even at garage sales, not realizing the treasure they held in their hands. Now, you might be wondering, what makes this 1979 no-mint mark penny so valuable? The answer lies in its rarity and the slight variations in its minting. During that year, the U.S. Mint produced pennies in such a way that only a very small number carried this unique feature. Over the decades, countless coins were lost, damaged, or melted down, making the remaining examples extremely rare. And rarity drives value in the coin world like nothing else. Collectors spend years studying these coins, examining every tiny detail under magnification. They look for differences in the lettering, the shape of Lincoln's profile, and even the texture of the copper. And when they find one that checks all the boxes, the results are astonishing. What was once a humble penny suddenly becomes a prized collectible worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even more, depending on its condition. But it's not just the money that makes these pennies fascinating, it's the history. Each coin tells a story about the time it was made, the people who used it, and the events that shaped the era. Holding one of these pennies is like holding a tiny piece of history in your hand. You can imagine the countless transactions it went through, the hands it passed from, and the small moments of everyday life it witnessed. The next discovery could be yours. You don't need to be a professional collector to find one of these pennies. All it takes is awareness, a careful eye, and a little bit of luck. The coins are out there, quietly hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. Throughout this video, we'll show you exactly what to look for in a 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, the tiny details that can make a coin extremely valuable, and how collectors verify their authenticity. We'll also share stories of real people who stumbled upon these pennies, transforming them from simple pocket change into life-changing wealth. By the end of this video, you'll see Lincoln pennies in a completely new light. You'll never toss one aside without checking it first, and you might just discover a hidden fortune in your own change jar. So stay with us, because what you learn today could make you the next lucky collector to uncover a rare, valuable penny worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, let's dive in and explore the fascinating world of the 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, uncovering the hidden clues, the rare features, and the secrets that make this coin a true treasure of history. We're diving into a story that could completely change the way you look at your pocket change. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny from 1972, no-mint mark, in your hand. At first glance, it might look like every other penny you've ever seen. Most people barely notice it, or toss it aside without a second thought. But what if I told you this small copper coin could be hiding a fortune, worth up to $500,000, yes, $500,000, tucked away in a tiny coin most of us pass by every single day? This isn't just a fantasy, it's the reality for collectors who know exactly what to look for. These rare pennies are treasures that coin enthusiasts dream about, struck during a very specific moment in history, and carrying tiny details and hidden clues that only the sharpest eyes can spot. Somewhere out there, pennies just like this one are slipping through everyday pockets, cash registers, and dusty jars. They're waiting for the right person to uncover their true importance. And believe it or not, stories of people finding similar pennies and turning them into life-changing money have already stunned the coin world. So, what makes the 1972 no-mint mark Lincoln penny so special? First, it's all about rarity. In certain years, the U.S. Mint produced fewer coins without mint marks, making these coins harder to come by. Second, condition matters. Pennies that are well preserved, with crisp details on Lincoln's face and the Lincoln Memorial, are exponentially more valuable. Even slight differences, like the positioning of letters, thickness of the strike, or minute imperfections, can send a penny's value skyrocketing. It's simpler than you think, and it all starts with paying attention. Check the date first, 1972, and make sure there's no mint mark. Then, examine the coin closely for sharpness of details and signs of wear. Coins with deep relief and clean surfaces are prime candidates for high value. Even coins that look ordinary can sometimes hide rare errors, like doubled dies or unusual strikes, which can make them priceless. Collectors also rely on stories from the past. Many of these pennies were forgotten in drawers, jars, and old wallets, only to resurface decades later. Imagine the thrill of discovering a coin tucked away by your grandparents, or in a collection you inherited. That ordinary penny could suddenly be worth enough to pay off debts, fund a dream, or change your life forever, and the excitement doesn't stop there. The coin world is full of mysteries and surprises. A single penny can tell a story about history, about the minting process, and even about the hands it passed through. Each scratch, each shine, each tiny mark could make it unique. Experts spend years studying these details, but anyone with patience and curiosity can uncover a hidden treasure. So, the next time you reach into your pocket or find a forgotten jar of coins, take a moment to look closely. That penny you almost threw away could be hiding a fortune. Keep your eyes open for coins with sharp details, no mint mark, and unusual characteristics. The more you know, the more likely you are to discover something incredible. We're diving into something that might just change the way you look at the coins in your pocket. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny from 1998 mint mark in your hand, the kind most people would barely glance at, or toss aside without a second thought. But what if I told you that this small copper coin could be secretly worth $600,000? That's right, a single penny with the potential to transform your life forever. This isn't just any penny. It's a rare treasure that collectors dream about, struck during a very specific moment in history. What makes it so special are the tiny details, the subtle differences that most eyes would completely miss. Only those who know exactly what to look for can spot these clues, and once you do, you'll understand why this penny is so highly sought after. Somewhere out there, pennies just like this one are slipping through everyday pockets, cash registers, and dusty jars, waiting for the right person to uncover their true value. And it's not just theory. Countless stories exist of people who found a seemingly ordinary coin and turned it into life-changing money. These discoveries often start as casual finds, a coin left behind in change, and end with a fortune that shocks even the most seasoned collectors. The 1998 Lincoln penny has a history that makes it stand out from the millions produced that year. Tiny differences in the die, minting errors, and even small variations in weight and shine can make a dramatic difference in value. While most pennies are worth just a few cents, a rare version of this coin has the power to sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars in the collector market. It all starts with the mint mark. On the 1998 D penny, the D stands for the Denver Mint, and while most 1998 D pennies are common, a few were struck with subtle errors during production. These errors could include doubled dies, missing details, or unusual spacing in the lettering. These tiny irregularities are what make the coin so valuable. Collectors spend years learning to recognize them, and when they do, they're willing to pay extraordinary amounts to add one to their collection. Another key factor is condition. A coin that has been perfectly preserved, showing no signs of wear, scratches, or discoloration, is far more valuable than one that has been circulating in pockets or jars for decades. That's why it's so important to examine each penny closely, even if it looks ordinary at first glance. A magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe can reveal hidden details that might otherwise be missed by the naked eye. Every rare penny carries a story. These coins are a snapshot of history, a reminder of the time when they were minted, and the people who used them. The 1998 Lincoln penny might look small and insignificant, but in the right hands, it can become a key to a treasure trove. The coin market thrives on these stories, and collectors are drawn not only to the rarity of the coin but also to the history it represents. Imagine the excitement of discovering one of these pennies in your own collection, or perhaps in change you've received without a second thought. The feeling of realizing that a small copper coin could hold a fortune beyond your imagination is something many collectors describe as life-changing. And the best part? The next discovery could be yours. Every coin you examine could be hiding a secret worth thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, of dollars. As we continue, let's take a closer look at the specific features that make the 1998 Lincoln penny so valuable. Look carefully at the mint mark, the shape of the numbers and the date, and the lines in Lincoln's hair. Compare these details with standard pennies from the same year. The difference may be subtle, but that subtlety is what makes all the difference in value. Errors are often microscopic, almost invisible without the right tools, but when recognized, they can transform an ordinary penny into a prize sought by collectors around the world. It's also important to understand the market. Rare pennies are not just valuable because of their scarcity. They are valuable because collectors are willing to pay for them. Auctions and private sales often see prices far above the average value, sometimes reaching hundreds of thousands of dollars. This demand drives the prices up and makes finding a rare penny like the 1998 D. Lincoln penny a truly remarkable opportunity. Finally, remember that patience and attention to detail are your greatest tools. Most people will never realize the hidden value of their coins, but those who take the time to examine, research, and understand the history of what they hold have the chance to uncover something extraordinary. The 1998 D. Lincoln penny is a perfect example, a small, seemingly ordinary coin that can secretly hold a life-changing fortune. We are diving into a story that could completely change the way you see one of the most common coins in your pocket, the Lincoln penny. Most people glance at these pennies and move on, never realizing that hidden within some of them is a fortune waiting to be discovered. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary 1976 D mint mark Lincoln penny in your hand. At first glance, it may look like nothing more than a simple copper coin, but what if I told you that this very penny could be worth as much as $700,000? Yes, you heard that right, $700,000 hiding in plain sight. The coin you're holding right now could have the potential to change your life forever. But how is that possible? How can a small, 1-cent coin hold such incredible value? The answer lies in its rarity, its history, and those tiny, often overlooked details that only collectors and experts know how to spot. The 1976 D mint mark Lincoln penny was struck during a unique period in U.S. coin history. Mint errors, variations, and special editions make certain pennies far more valuable than the face value printed on them. Collectors are constantly hunting for these rare treasures, and each penny tells its own story, a story of meticulous craftsmanship, historical significance, and sometimes, unexpected fortune. Let me take you through exactly what makes this penny so special. It's not just the year or the mint mark, it's the subtle details on the coin itself. Look closely at the design, the shape of the letters, the positioning of Lincoln's features, and even tiny anomalies in the metal. These small characteristics can turn an everyday penny into a collector's gem. It's these details that experts search for, and it's these details that can separate a common penny from a penny worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Stories of people discovering rare pennies are nothing short of amazing. Imagine someone casually going through their old coin jar or loose change, only to find a 1976 D. Lincoln penny that had been hiding unnoticed for decades. In an instant, a life-changing sum of money appears in their hands. These discoveries aren't just rumors, they've happened again and again. And the best part? There's always the chance that the next life-changing penny could be right in your pocket. Now, you may be wondering, how do you know if your penny is one of these rare treasures? First, check for the mint mark. The D mark indicates it was minted in Denver, which is a key part of its identity. Next, examine the coin's details carefully. Look for anything unusual, a doubled image, strange lines, or anomalies in the design. These are often indicators of a rare and valuable penny. And finally, condition matters. Pennies that have been preserved in excellent condition over decades are far more likely to be worth a fortune than those that have been heavily worn. Even if you've searched before and never found anything extraordinary, don't lose hope. Many of the most incredible finds have come from people who had no idea they were holding treasure. Sometimes, a penny can sit unnoticed in a jar, a drawer, or a pocket for years, only to be discovered at the perfect moment. That moment could be today, tomorrow, or even next week, but knowing what to look for is the first step toward finding it. This is why coin collecting isn't just a hobby, it's a hunt for hidden history and secret wealth. Each penny has a story, and some of these stories can literally change lives. From small details in Lincoln's profile to tiny variations in the coin's edges and letters, these clues are waiting for the sharpest eyes. The 1976 D. Lincoln penny is more than metal. It's a piece of history, a potential key to unimaginable fortune, and a reminder that sometimes, the most ordinary things hide extraordinary secrets. So, the next time you pick up a penny, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. Examine it carefully, and consider its history and details. Because one of these seemingly ordinary coins could very well be the one that changes your life forever. The thrill of discovery, the anticipation, and the possibility of finding a $700,000 treasure in your hands is what makes coin collecting an adventure like no other. Stay curious, stay observant, and remember, the next rare penny could be hiding anywhere, slipping through cash registers, jars, or even the coins in your pocket. The stories of lucky finders are proof that with patience and attention to detail, anyone could stumble upon a fortune that has been hiding in plain sight for decades. Thank you for joining me today as we uncovered the secrets of the 1970-60 mint mark Lincoln penny. Keep your eyes open, and the next time you hold a simple penny, remember, it might be more than it appears. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more incredible stories of coins that could change lives. We're diving into a story that could completely change the way you look at your spare change. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny from 2011, the D mint mark version. At first glance, it looks like just another coin, the kind most people barely notice, or toss aside without a second thought. But what if I told you that this small copper coin could secretly be worth up to $800,000? Yes, this tiny piece of history could hold a fortune powerful enough to change your life forever. This isn't just any penny. This is a rare treasure, one that collectors dream about. It was struck during a unique moment in history, and it carries tiny details, hidden clues, and subtle anomalies that only the sharpest eyes can spot. Somewhere out there, pennies just like this one are slipping through everyday pockets, cash registers, and dusty jars, waiting for the right person to uncover their true value. Stories of people finding similar pennies are nothing short of incredible. Ordinary folks, just like you and me, have discovered pennies that seemed worthless at first glance, only to turn them into life-changing sums of money. One single discovery has turned people's lives around, paid off mortgages, started businesses, and even funded lifelong dreams. The most remarkable part? The next discovery could be yours. So, what makes a penny like this so valuable? It's all in the details. Experts look for minute errors, unusual markings, double strikes, and tiny differences in the design. A misaligned date, an extra leaf, a faint doubled edge, any of these subtle features could signal that you're holding something rare, something the coin world calls a key collector's item. And while it may seem impossible to find, these pennies do exist, and many are hiding in plain sight. Think about how many pennies have circulated since 2011. Millions upon millions of coins have passed through hands, been lost, forgotten in jars, or buried at the bottom of purses and wallets. Among them, a handful hold the secret that transforms them from ordinary to extraordinary. And collectors are always on the lookout for these hidden gems, willing to pay astonishing sums to acquire them. Now, you might be wondering, how do you even spot one? Patience, a keen eye, and a little knowledge go a long way. Examine the date and mint mark closely. Look at the details of Lincoln's profile, the lettering, and the edges. Tiny deviations that most would never notice can instantly make a coin extremely valuable. It's about training your eyes to see what others don't, and once you've learned this skill, every Lincoln penny suddenly tells a story. But here's the thing, it's not just about the coin itself. It's about history. Every penny carries with it a snapshot of the year it was minted, the artistry of the mint, and even rare mistakes that make it unique. Collectors don't just buy coins, they're buying pieces of history, each one telling a story that spans decades. And when you find a penny with that rare combination of errors, mint marks, or anomalies, you're holding a tangible piece of the past that can have a massive impact in the present. Imagine walking past a jar of old coins on a shelf or sorting through loose change in your drawer. One glance, one careful examination, and suddenly, you might see something no one else has noticed. That ordinary penny could be hiding a treasure, just waiting for someone patient and observant enough to uncover it. We've seen stories of coins being discovered in the most unexpected places. Change in couch cushions, coins left behind in old collections, pennies that have been forgotten for years in jars, all turning into mind-blowing discoveries. And the truth is, many people overlook them because they simply don't know what to look for. But now, after watching this video, you're learning the secrets. You're learning how to spot what others miss. And that knowledge alone could make the difference between holding a worthless penny or holding a fortune. So, the next time you pick up a Lincoln penny from 2011 with a D mint mark, pause for a moment. Don't just toss it aside. Examine it closely, pay attention to the small details, and consider the possibility that you might be holding something extraordinary. The potential is there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice it. Remember, the coin world is full of surprises. Even the smallest, most ordinary-looking coins can carry hidden value beyond imagination. And while not every penny will be worth hundreds of thousands, knowing what to look for dramatically increases your chances of discovering the one that could be. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and keep examining those pennies. History, rarity, and fortune can sometimes be found in the most unlikely places. And maybe, just maybe, the next incredible discovery is right there in your pocket. By understanding what makes these pennies valuable, you'll never look at loose change the same way again. Every coin could tell a story. Every coin could hide a fortune. And every coin could be the one that changes your life forever. So, keep searching, keep observing, and keep dreaming. Because one day, that ordinary-looking 2011 D. Lincoln penny could become your extraordinary discovery, unlocking a life you never imagined possible. We're diving into the fascinating world of coin collecting, and trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never look at a Lincoln penny the same way again. Imagine holding a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny from 1972 with no mint mark in your hand, the kind most people would barely glance at or toss aside without a second thought. But what if I told you this small copper coin could be secretly worth $100,000? A tiny coin with the power to change your life forever. This isn't just any penny. It's a rare treasure that collectors dream about, struck during a very specific moment in history. Its value isn't obvious at first glance. The clues are subtle, hidden in tiny details that only the sharpest eyes ever notice. The mint mark, the condition, the precise details of Lincoln's profile, each factor could make the difference between a coin worth a few cents and one that could make headlines. Somewhere out there, pennies just like this one are slipping through everyday pockets, cash registers, and dusty jars, waiting for the right person to uncover their true importance. People have found pennies in the most unexpected places, in old collections forgotten in drawers, in change from local shops, even in coin rolls handed down from grandparents. Each story is a reminder that fortunes can be hiding in the smallest, most overlooked places. First, the no mint mark means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. In some years, especially the early 1970s, production errors or slight variations created coins that were extremely rare. These errors could include doubled dies, off-center strikes, or even tiny variations in the thickness of the coin. Collectors are constantly searching for these rare imperfections because they transform a regular penny into a potentially life-changing treasure. Now, condition matters more than you might think. A penny that looks worn, scratched, or dull may still have hidden value, but a coin that is almost flawless, showing sharp details in Lincoln's profile, clear lettering, and even the tiniest shine of copper, can fetch thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's why every time you handle a penny, it's worth giving it a second look. Let's talk about real stories. There have been instances where people found rare Lincoln pennies in rolls of change at banks, unaware they were holding something extraordinary. One person's discovery turned into a six-figure payout after an expert authentication. Another story involves a collector who bought a small lot of pennies at a garage sale for just a few dollars, only to find a rare 1972 no mint mark Lincoln penny tucked inside. That coin alone ended up being worth $100,000. These are not just legends. These are real-life examples showing that hidden treasures are out there, waiting to be discovered. Start by examining coins closely. Look for differences in the mint mark, check for doubled dies or irregularities, and pay attention to the weight and color. Even small variations can make a huge difference. Learning about common errors in the 1972 series will help you identify the coins that might be valuable. And remember, patience is key. Sometimes, you might handle hundreds of coins before you find one worth a closer look. It's also important to handle coins carefully. Oils and dirt from your fingers can damage a coin, lowering its value. Use gloves or hold coins by the edges, and consider investing in a magnifying glass or loupe to see the details more clearly. Proper storage is essential too. Keeping your coins in protective sleeves or albums will help maintain their condition and value over time. As you start paying more attention to pennies, you'll notice how easy it is to overlook potential treasures. Everyday coins hide history in their design. The face of Lincoln, the inscriptions, and even small minting quirks tell a story of the era in which they were struck. The thrill of discovery comes not just from the monetary value, but from uncovering a piece of history that has quietly survived decades. And here's the most exciting part: every coin you find is a chance for a story like those we just shared. You could be the next person to uncover a 1972 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny that turns into a life-changing find. Imagine the moment you hold that coin in your hand and realize its true worth. The excitement, the disbelief, the rush of knowing you discovered something that many others might never see. It's a feeling unlike any other. By the time this video ends, I want you to look at every penny you encounter in a new way. Each one is a potential treasure, a piece of history, and maybe, just maybe, the start of a life-changing discovery. Remember, it's not about luck alone, it's about knowledge, observation, and a keen eye for the rare and unusual. So next time you handle a Lincoln penny, think about its story. Think about the hands it has passed through, the places it has been, and the secrets it might be hiding. Because somewhere, out there, your very own treasure is waiting, just ready to be found. I want you to imagine something very simple. Imagine reaching into your pocket, your wallet, or an old jar of coins sitting quietly in the corner of your house. You pull out a penny. It looks ordinary. Old, brown, worn from years of use. The kind of coin most people would never look at twice. But what if I told you that this exact penny could be hiding a secret worth up to $200,000? This is the story of the 1980 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that many people have already spent without realizing what they had in their hands. And somewhere out there, right now, more of these pennies are still circulating, waiting for the right person to notice the tiny details that turn a 1-cent coin into a life-changing discovery. The year 1980 was a very important time in U.S. coin history. It was a period of transition, experimentation, and subtle changes at the U.S. Mint. Most people don't realize that pennies from this era can exist in multiple metal compositions, strike qualities, and era varieties. And it's these small differences that collectors are willing to pay enormous amounts of money for. A 1980 Lincoln penny with no mint mark means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. At first glance, that might not sound special at all. Millions of pennies were made that year. But here's where things get interesting. Not all 1980 pennies are the same. Some were struck with rare errors, unusual metal characteristics, or exceptional quality that makes them incredibly valuable today. One of the most important things collectors look for is striking errors. These are mistakes that happen during the minting process. Errors can include off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, or weak strikes where certain details appear faded or doubled. To the untrained eye, these might look like flaws. To collectors, they are treasures. Now imagine a 1980 no-mint Mark penny with a strong double die error. That means parts of the design, especially the date, the word liberty, or the phrase "I in God we trust," appear doubled. Not blurry, not damaged, but clearly doubled. This type of error happens during the die creation process and is extremely rare. When authenticated and graded in high condition, these pennies can reach shocking prices. Another major factor is the metal composition. In 1980, pennies were still made primarily of copper. Just a couple of years later, the mint switched to zinc with a thin copper coating. Collectors strongly prefer copper pennies, especially when they are in excellent condition. A full copper 1980 penny with the correct weight, sharp details, and a rare error becomes something truly special. Condition is everything in the coin world. A penny that has been sitting untouched for decades, with sharp edges, full luster, and minimal wear, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of times more than the same coin in poor condition. If a rare error coin like this is preserved in near-perfect or mint-state condition, the value can skyrocket. Some of the most valuable examples are coins that were never meant to leave the mint in their flawed state but somehow slipped through quality control. These are the coins that collectors dream of finding. Coins that tell a story of human error, history, and chance all wrapped into a single cent. There are real stories of ordinary people discovering valuable pennies in everyday places. Old coffee cans, inherited coin collections, rolls of pennies from the bank, even change received at a grocery store. These discoveries didn't happen because someone was rich or lucky. They happened because someone knew what to look for and took the time to inspect a simple coin. First, check the date and mint mark. Make sure it says 1980 and has no letter under the date. Next, examine the lettering closely. Look for doubling on the numbers, letters, or Lincoln's profile. Use a magnifying glass or a coin loop if you have one. Then, weigh the coin. A copper penny from this era should weigh around 3.11 grams. A significant difference in weight could signal something unusual. Also look at the edges. A clipped or uneven edge can be a sign of a mint error. Finally, check the overall condition. The sharper the details, the better. Even small differences in condition can mean a massive difference in value. If you believe you've found something special, never clean the coin. Cleaning can destroy its value instantly. Instead, store it safely and consider having it authenticated and graded by a professional coin grading service. This step is crucial if you want to unlock the true value of your discovery. What makes this story so powerful is the idea that history isn't locked away in museums. It's still moving through our hands every day. The 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln penny proves that something ordinary can hold extraordinary value, hidden in plain sight. Somewhere right now, a penny just like this one is sitting in a drawer, a piggy bank, or a pocket, waiting for someone to notice the tiny clues that everyone else ignored. And that person could be you. Once you understand what to look for, you'll never see a Lincoln penny the same way again. Every coin becomes a possibility. Every handful of change becomes a treasure hunt. But what if that tiny copper coin was secretly worth up to $300,000? It sounds unbelievable, I know. But this is exactly why stories like this continue to shock collectors all over the United States. Because the rarest treasures are often hiding in plain sight. The 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a time when billions of pennies were being produced. On the surface, it looks ordinary. Abraham Lincoln on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back, and no mint mark below the date. Just another penny, right? That is exactly what makes it so dangerous to ignore. You see, rarity is not always about age. It is about mistakes, tiny differences, and moments in history when something went slightly wrong at the mint. And in 1991, several of those moments created pennies that collectors now desperately search for. Most 1991 pennies are worth just 1 cent. But a small number were struck with rare minting errors that instantly turn a common coin into a life-changing discovery. These errors are so subtle that only careful eyes ever notice them. And that is why many of these valuable pennies are still out there today, passing from hand to hand, completely unnoticed. One of the most valuable errors to look for is the doubled die. This happens when the coin design is struck more than once at slightly different angles. On a genuine doubled die 1991 penny, you may see doubling in the date, in the word liberty, or in the phrase "I in God we trust." The doubling is not blurry damage. It looks sharp, clear, and intentional. When collectors see true doubling, their hearts race, because this single detail can push a penny's value into the tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Another rare variety involves off-metal strikes. While 1991 pennies were supposed to be struck on copper-plated zinc planchets, a tiny number may have been struck on the wrong metal. These mistakes are incredibly rare and extremely valuable. If your penny feels heavier than normal or looks different in color, it deserves professional attention immediately. Then there are dramatic errors like off-center strikes, broad strikes, and clipped planchets. These coins look visibly wrong. The design may be shifted, missing parts, or shaped oddly. Many people assume these coins are damaged and throw them away. In reality, these errors are exactly what collectors pay huge money for. Condition also plays a massive role. A 1991 no-mint mark penny in average circulated condition may never be worth more than face value. But if you find one in near-perfect condition, especially with a rare error, the value can skyrocket. Professional grading can turn a simple discovery into a verified treasure. What makes this story even more exciting is that these pennies are not locked away in museums or private vaults. They were released into everyday circulation. They passed through grocery stores, gas stations, banks, and vending machines. Some ended up forgotten in drawers. Some are still sitting in jars right now. Collectors have already paid shocking prices for rare Lincoln pennies, and every year new discoveries are made. Ordinary people, not experts, have found coins that changed their lives. The only difference is that they took a moment to look closer. So here is what you should do. Take your 1991 no-mint mark pennies and examine them carefully. Use a magnifying glass if you can. Look at the date. Look at the letters. Look for doubling, odd shapes, missing details, or anything that feels unusual. Compare the weight if possible. And if something seems different, do not clean the coin. Cleaning can destroy its value instantly. Instead, store it safely and consider having it evaluated by a professional coin grading service. That small step could be the difference between spending a penny and discovering a fortune. The most powerful part of this story is not the money. It is the idea that history is still hiding around us. That something so small, so ordinary, can hold a secret powerful enough to change a life forever. Somewhere right now, a 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny worth hundreds of thousands of dollars is waiting. It could be in your house. It could be in your pocket. And now that you know what to look for, you will never see a Lincoln penny the same way again. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a completely ordinary-looking Lincoln penny from 2007. No shine that grabs your attention. No obvious rarity. Just a small copper coin that most people would spend without a second thought. But what if I told you that this exact type of penny could be hiding a value of up to $400,000? A tiny piece of metal that could quietly change your life forever. The 2007 no-mint mark Lincoln penny was struck in Philadelphia, a mint that produces millions of coins every single year. Because of that, most people assume these pennies are common and worthless. And in normal condition, many of them are. But history has a way of creating rare accidents, and the year 2007 was full of opportunities for mistakes that only the sharpest eyes can spot today. During this period, the U.S. Mint was operating at high speed to keep up with demand. When machines run non-stop, errors happen. And when errors happen on coins, collectors pay serious money. Now let me be very clear. Not every 2007 penny is valuable. But certain rare versions of this penny are so hard to find that collectors will compete fiercely to own one. The first thing to understand is the no-mint mark. If your 2007 penny does not have a D or an S under the date, it was minted in Philadelphia. That is where most of the rare error varieties come from. One of the most valuable possibilities is a double die error. This happens when the coin is struck more than once at slightly different angles. When you look closely, especially at the word liberty, the date 2007, or the phrase "I in God we trust," you may see doubling. Not damage. Not blur. But clean, strong doubling that looks like a shadow or a second outline. Another major value booster is an off-metal error. In extremely rare cases, a 2007 penny was struck on the wrong type of metal planchet. Some were struck on foreign coin blanks or experimental materials. These coins often weigh differently than normal pennies and may appear lighter or darker in color. When authenticated, these errors can sell for astonishing amounts. Then there are broad strikes and off-center strikes. If the coin was not seated properly during striking, part of the design may be missing or stretched. While minor off-center coins are common, dramatic and well-centered errors with full dates are extremely rare and highly valuable. Condition matters more than most people realize. A 2007 penny with a rare error in average condition might be worth thousands. The same coin in near-perfect, uncirculated condition could be worth tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Coins graded MS-67 or higher by professional grading services are where the real money begins. Collectors dream of finding a coin like this in everyday change because it proves that treasures are still out there. Pennies like these are still slipping through cash registers, coin rolls, and old jars sitting quietly on shelves. There are real stories of people who checked their spare change out of curiosity and ended up discovering coins that paid off homes, cleared debts, and changed their future. They were not experts. They were just people who looked a little closer. If you want to check your own 2007 no mint mark Lincoln penny, start with a magnifying glass. Look closely at the date, the lettering, and Lincoln's profile. Weigh the coin if you can. Compare it to a normal penny. Any difference could be a clue, and most importantly, never clean the coin. Cleaning can destroy its value instantly. If you believe you have something special, have it examined by a professional coin dealer or grading service. The most powerful part of this story is not the price. It is the possibility. The idea that something so small and overlooked could be sitting right in front of you, waiting for the moment. Imagine holding a simple Lincoln penny from 1970 in your hand. No mint mark. No shine. No obvious sign that it's special. It's the kind of coin most people would spend without a second thought. But what if I told you that this exact penny could be hiding a value of up to $500,000? A small copper coin, quietly sitting in pocket change, with the power to completely change a life. Today, we're uncovering the truth behind the 1970 no mint mark Lincoln penny. Why collectors are obsessed with it, what makes certain examples incredibly valuable, and most importantly, how you can tell if the penny you already own could be a hidden treasure. The 1970 Lincoln penny without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During that time, Philadelphia pennies did not carry a mint mark, which is why millions of these coins entered circulation. At first glance, that sounds ordinary. But hidden within this massive production are rare variations and errors that collectors will pay enormous money to own. One of the most important things to understand is timing. The year 1970 sits right on the edge of a major change in U.S. coinage. Pennies were still being made primarily of copper, but the mint was under pressure due to rising metal costs. That transitional period created the perfect conditions for mistakes, experimental dies, and rare varieties. The most famous and valuable variety of the 1970 no mint mark penny is the 1970 small date double die obverse. This is the coin that has shocked the coin world and sold for astonishing prices. A double die happens when the coin die receives a misaligned impression during its creation. This causes parts of the design to appear doubled on the finished coin. Unlike damage or wear, this doubling is part of the coin itself and can never be removed. On the 1970 penny, the doubling is most visible on the word Liberty, the date 1970, and the motto I in God we trust. Under magnification, the letters look thick, slightly split, or shadowed. This is not machine doubling. This is the real thing. High-grade examples of this variety have sold for tens of thousands of dollars. And in exceptional condition, with strong doubling and pristine surfaces, values can climb toward $500,000 at major auctions. There is also the small date versus large date distinction. Most people don't even know this exists, which is why rare examples continue to be found in circulation and old collections. On the small date variety, the numbers in 1970 appear thinner and more delicate. The 7 is level with the 9 and 0, and the overall date looks compact. On the large date, the numbers are bolder, and the 7 sits slightly lower. The small date coins are far scarcer, especially in high grades. Combine a small date with a double die, and you're holding one of the most legendary modern Lincoln pennies ever struck. Most 1970 pennies you find will be worn. Scratches, dull surfaces, and weak details dramatically reduce value. But coins that were pulled early from circulation or stored carefully can still exist in near-perfect condition. Collectors look for sharp details on Lincoln's hair, a clean jawline, full wheat stalks on the reverse, and original red copper color. The brighter and cleaner the coin, the higher the value climbs. A circulated example might be worth a few dollars. An uncirculated example could be worth hundreds. But a rare variety in top condition is where the real money lives. This is why people search through rolls of pennies, old jars, estate collections, and even bank boxes. These coins were never meant to be rare, yet here they are, quietly hiding in plain sight. There are documented stories of collectors and everyday people discovering valuable 1970 pennies in inherited collections or forgotten containers. Coins that sat untouched for decades suddenly became life-changing assets. Imagine opening a jar that's been sitting in a closet since the 1970s, pouring the coins onto a table, and realizing one of them could pay off your house, your debts, or fund your dreams. First, check every 1970 penny you come across. Look closely at the date. Compare small date versus large date. Use a magnifying glass and inspect the lettering for doubling. Second, do not clean the coin. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Even light polishing can turn a valuable coin into a common one. Third, if you believe you've found something special, consider professional grading. Authentication by a respected grading service can confirm the variety and protect the coin's value. Finally, be patient. The coin market rewards knowledge and condition. Rushing to sell without understanding what you have can cost you thousands. The 1970 no mint mark Lincoln penny is proof that incredible value can hide inside ordinary objects. A coin most people ignore could be a silent witness to history, mistakes, and opportunity. Imagine holding a penny so ordinary that most people wouldn't even pause for a second before spending it. A penny from 2002. No mint mark. Just 1 cent. The kind you find in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or an old jar at home. But what if I told you that this exact penny could secretly be worth up to $600,000? Most people believe valuable coins are always old, ancient, or locked away in museums. But the truth is far more exciting. Some of the most valuable coins ever discovered were once everyday change, ignored and underestimated, until the right person looked a little closer. This coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why it carries no mint mark at all. Millions of these pennies were produced, flooding circulation across the United States. On the surface, that sounds ordinary. But what collectors know, and most people don't, is that rarity is not only about how many coins were made. It's about mistakes, variations, and tiny details that change everything. The year 2002 was part of a transitional period for the U.S. Mint. Production was fast, demand was high, and quality control wasn't always perfect. That is exactly when rare errors are born. Some 2002 no mint mark pennies were struck with dramatic minting errors. We're talking about double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks so visible they look like lightning frozen into metal. These errors are not damage. They happen during the minting process, and that makes all the difference. That a double die penny from 2002 can show strong doubling in Lincoln's date, his eye, his ear, or the word liberty. On the reverse, the doubling may appear in the words 1 cent or United States of America. Under magnification, these details jump out, and once you see them, you can never unsee them. Then there are off-metal strikes. Rare cases where the penny was struck on the wrong planchet entirely. These are the kinds of coins that make collectors stop breathing for a moment. Because coins like this are not just rare. They are legendary. Condition also plays a massive role. A 2002 no mint mark Lincoln penny in perfect mint state condition, especially graded MS69 or MS70 by a professional grading service, can reach jaw-dropping prices. These coins have razor-sharp details, flawless surfaces, and original mint luster that still shines decades later. Some of the highest value pennies ever sold were not discovered by experts. They were found by ordinary people. Someone checking spare change. Someone cleaning out a drawer. Someone who decided, just once, to look closer instead of spending it. There are documented cases of modern Lincoln pennies selling for tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars when the right combination of error, rarity, and condition comes together. That's why collectors pay such close attention to years like 2002. It could be sitting in a coffee shop register. It could be buried in a roll of bank pennies. It could be resting quietly in your own home. First, check the mint mark. If there is no mint mark below the date, that means it was struck in Philadelphia. Next, inspect the coin carefully under good lighting. Look for doubling, strange lines, cracks, or anything that looks unusual or out of place. A jeweler's loupe or simple magnifying glass can reveal details invisible to the naked eye. Weigh the coin if you can. Measure it. Compare it to a normal penny. Errors often stand out when you know what normal looks like. And never clean the coin. cleaning destroys value instantly. Even if the penny looks dirty, collectors prefer original surfaces over shine. If you believe you've found something special, the next step is professional grading. Authentication by a trusted grading service is what turns a strange penny into a verified treasure. So before you spend your next penny, take a second look. Because history doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers from the smallest coin in your hand. If you enjoyed this story and want to learn how to spot more hidden treasures hiding in everyday change, make sure you subscribe to the channel. New discoveries, real coin stories, and unbelievable values are waiting for you here. I want you to imagine something very simple. You reach into your pocket, your wallet, or that old jar of loose change sitting quietly in your house. Your fingers touch a single penny. A 1998 D. Lincoln penny. Ordinary. Common. Or so it seems. Most people would never stop to look at it. They would spend it without a second thought. But what if I told you that this exact penny, under the right conditions, could be hiding a value of up to $700,000? A fortune small enough to fit on your fingertip, yet powerful enough to change a life forever. The 1998 D. Lincoln penny was struck at the Denver Mint during a time when millions of pennies were produced every single day. But within those massive numbers, something extraordinary happened. A tiny group of pennies escaped the normal rules. They were born with rare mistakes, unusual metal compositions, and microscopic details that separate pocket change from legendary treasure. At first glance, the design looks familiar. Abraham Lincoln's calm portrait faces right, just like it has since 1909. The word liberty sits beside him. The date 1998 appears clearly. And beneath that date, the small but powerful letter D, marking its birthplace at the Denver Mint. Because value does not come from age alone. It comes from rarity. And rarity is often hidden in places most people never think to look. Some 1998 D. Lincoln pennies were struck with dramatic mint errors. We are talking about doubled dies, where parts of the lettering or Lincoln's features appear doubled, almost like a shadow. If you see doubling on the words "In God We Trust" on the date, or around Lincoln's eye and ear, you could be holding something very special. Other rare examples were struck off-center, leaving part of the design missing. These mistakes were never supposed to leave the mint, yet somehow they did. And when they did, they became instant targets for collectors willing to pay huge money. Then there are planchet errors. Some pennies were struck on the wrong metal blanks. Imagine a penny that weighs more or less than it should. A penny that sounds different when dropped. A penny that looks slightly off in color. These clues may seem small, but to a trained collector, they are the signs of a hidden jackpot. A 1998 D. Lincoln penny that has never been circulated, never scratched, never dulled by time, can be worth exponentially more than one that has passed through thousands of hands. If the coin still has its original red copper shine, sharp details, and flawless surfaces, collectors call this mint state. And mint state is where the real money lies. Some of the highest priced Lincoln pennies ever sold were not ancient coins. They were modern pennies in perfect condition with rare characteristics. That is why collectors search rolls, bank boxes, and even loose change every single day. Most people think valuable coins are already locked away in museums or private vaults. That is not true. Rare coins are still out there. They are hiding in plain sight. They are being spent, dropped, and forgotten because people do not know what to look for. Someone, somewhere, has already found a life-changing penny by accident. Someone else opened a drawer and discovered a coin worth more than a house. And there is absolutely no rule that says the next person cannot be you. Look closely at your 1998 D. Lincoln pennies. Check the date and mint mark. Examine the letters with a magnifying glass. Look for doubling, cracks, or unusual spacing. Weigh the coin if you can. Compare it to a normal penny. Trust your instincts when something feels different. History does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers from the smallest places. From a single penny. From a forgotten pocket. From a moment when curiosity beats routine. But what if I told you that this exact penny, under the right conditions, could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? What if this tiny coin, sitting quietly in your pocket change, was hiding a secret powerful enough to change your life forever? Today's story is about the 2001 Lincoln penny, a coin that millions of people have handled, ignored, and spent without ever realizing its true potential. This is not just another penny. For collectors, this coin represents mystery, rare errors, and the thrilling possibility of sudden wealth. And the most exciting part is that many of these pennies are still out there, mixed in with everyday change, waiting to be discovered. The year 2001 was a unique time for the United States Mint. Billions of Lincoln pennies were produced as the country entered a new millennium. The Denver Mint alone struck an enormous number of pennies, all marked with that small d below the date. On the surface, this makes the 2001 penny seem common and worthless. But history has shown us again and again that rarity does not always come from low mintage numbers. Sometimes, rarity is born from mistakes. Collectors know that some of the most valuable coins in the world were never supposed to exist. They were created because something went wrong during the minting process. A wrong metal, a misaligned die, a doubled image, a missing detail so small that only a trained eye would ever notice. And this is exactly where the 2001 Lincoln penny becomes interesting. Point one of the most talked about possibilities with this coin is the presence of dramatic mint errors. These include strong doubled dies, where Lincoln's face or the lettering appears doubled, almost like a shadow. When the doubling is bold and clear, collectors pay serious money. Another highly valuable error is an off-metal strike, where a penny is accidentally struck on the wrong planchet. If a 2001 penny were struck on a blank meant for another coin, its value could skyrocket into six figures. There are also off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned on the coin. If the date and mint mark are still visible and the error is dramatic enough, collectors go crazy for these pieces. Then there are die cracks, cut errors, and broad strikes, each one adding another layer of rarity and excitement. Condition plays a massive role as well. A 2001 Lincoln penny in average circulated condition is usually worth just 1 cent. But a flawless example, graded in extremely high mint state by a professional grading service, can command surprisingly high prices. Coins with perfect luster, sharp details, and zero wear are far rarer than people realize, especially after more than 2 decades of circulation. Now imagine combining a high-grade condition with a major mint error. That is where the truly life-changing values come into play. While not every 2001 penny is worth a fortune, the right one, with the right characteristics, can be worth amounts that sound almost unbelievable. This is why collectors carefully examine every detail under magnification, searching for those tiny clues that separate an ordinary penny from a historic treasure. What makes this story even more exciting is that people are still finding valuable coins today. Not in museums. Not in private collections locked away for decades. But in everyday places. Coin rolls from banks. Old jars in kitchen cabinets. Change received at grocery stores. There are real stories of people who took a second look at a penny and ended up holding something worth more than a house. This is not about luck alone. It is about knowledge. Once you know what to look for, your entire perspective changes. You stop seeing pennies as loose change and start seeing them as opportunities. Every Lincoln penny becomes a question mark. Every handful of coins becomes a potential treasure hunt. So if you ever come across a 2001 Lincoln penny, don't rush to spend it. Look closely at Lincoln's face. Examine the lettering "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." Check the date and mint mark for doubling. Look at the edges, the weight, the color. Sometimes the smallest detail is the most important one. The coin world is full of surprises, and the 2001 Lincoln penny is proof that modern coins can still hold extraordinary secrets. Somewhere right now, a penny like this is being overlooked, passed from hand to hand, waiting for someone curious enough to stop and look closer. Welcome back to our channel. Old Coins Prices. Imagine this for a moment. You reach into your pocket, pull out a handful of loose change, and there it is, an ordinary-looking 1981 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. The kind of coin you have probably held hundreds of times before. The kind most people would never think twice about. But what if I told you that this exact penny could be hiding a secret value of up to $100,000? It sounds unbelievable. Almost impossible. Yet stories like this have already happened in the coin collecting world, and they continue to happen today. The 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a very important transition period in U.S. coin history. On the surface, it looks simple. Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Nothing flashy. Nothing obvious. But the real value of this coin is hidden in the smallest details, details so subtle that only careful collectors ever notice them. In 1981, the U.S. Mint was still using mostly copper for pennies, just before the major shift to zinc-based cents. That alone makes these coins historically important. A genuine 1981 penny with the right composition, weight, strike quality, and rare errors can become extremely desirable to collectors. And when demand meets rarity, prices can explode. Not every 1981 no-mint mark penny is valuable. In fact, most are only worth face value. But a tiny percentage of these coins were struck with rare minting errors or exceptional qualities that separate them from the rest. These are the pennies that collectors dream about. These are the pennies that sell for shocking amounts of money. One of the biggest things to look for is condition. A 1981 no-mint mark penny that has never been circulated, never scratched, never worn down by time, can already be worth much more than a normal penny. If it has full original luster, sharp details on Lincoln's face, and clear lettering, you may be holding something special. Next, you need to check the weight. A genuine copper 1981 penny should weigh around 3.11 grams. Even a small difference can be important. Some rare examples were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the blank coin used was incorrect. These off-metal errors are incredibly rare, and when authenticated, they can sell for tens of thousands of dollars. Another major clue is doubling. Look closely at the words on the coin. In God we trust. Liberty. The date 1981. If you see any doubling or shadow-like effects on the letters or numbers, you may be looking at a double die error. These errors happen during the minting process and cannot be recreated later. Collectors pay huge premiums for them. Then there are strike errors. Off-center strikes, weak strikes, or unusually strong strikes can all add value. Some 1981 pennies were struck slightly off-center, making the design appear shifted. Others show missing details in one area and sharp details in another. These imperfections are actually what make the coin perfect to collectors. And let's not forget about color. Copper pennies age over time, changing from bright red to reddish brown and eventually brown. A 1981 penny that still has its original red color is far rarer than most people realize. Red copper pennies from this era, especially in near-perfect condition, can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Combine that with a rare error, and the price can skyrocket. Collectors have found rare Lincoln pennies in pocket change, old jars, and inherited collections, only to discover later that their coin was worth more than a car, more than a house down payment, sometimes more than a full year's salary. These are not fairy tales. These are documented auction results and real stories from the coin world. Unlike ancient coins locked away in museums, 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies were made for everyday use. They traveled through millions of hands. They sat in cash registers, piggy banks, and coffee cans. Even today, they continue to circulate quietly, unnoticed, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. Imagine holding a simple Lincoln penny from 1989 in your hand. A coin so common that most people would never stop to look at it. It sits quietly in your pocket, mixed with loose change, passed from one hand to another without a second thought. But what if I told you that this exact penny, the 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, could be hiding a secret value of up to $200,000? Today's story is not just about money. It's about awareness, patience, and knowing what others overlook. Because some of the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight. The 1989 Lincoln penny without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, a place responsible for producing millions of coins every year. On the surface, that sounds ordinary. Millions of coins usually mean low value. But history has taught collectors something very important. When small mistakes, rare errors, or unusual details appear during mass production, a normal coin can suddenly become extremely valuable. At first glance, it looks like any other Lincoln Memorial penny. Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait stares back at you. The date 1989 sits quietly beneath his image. There is no mint mark below the date, which tells us it was made in Philadelphia. Nothing seems special. Nothing seems rare. Some 1989 pennies were struck during moments when the minting process was not perfect. Tiny errors occurred, mistakes so small that only a careful eye could catch them. These mistakes are what turn pocket change into collector gold. One of the most important things to look for is doubling. This can appear on the date, on the word Liberty, or even on Lincoln's eye and beard. A true double die error shows clear separation, not just a shadow. When this doubling is strong and original to the coin, collectors take notice. Strong double die pennies from certain years have sold for thousands, and in extreme cases, much more. Another key detail is off-metal or wrong planchet strikes. A 1989 penny accidentally struck on a planchet meant for another coin is incredibly rare. These mistakes happen when the wrong metal blank slips into the press. If such a penny exists and is authenticated, it can bring jaw-dropping prices at auction. Weight is another silent clue. A standard 1989 penny should weigh around 2.5 grams. If your coin is noticeably heavier or lighter, it could indicate an error in composition. Some transitional or experimental planchets have created coins that look normal but weigh differently. These are the kinds of discoveries that make headlines in the coin world. Then there are strike errors. Look closely at the rim. Is it uneven? Is part of the design missing or cut off? Does Lincoln's portrait look slightly shifted? These off-center strikes and broad strikes are more than accidents. They are prized collectibles when preserved in good condition. Condition itself plays a massive role. Even a rare error loses value if it is worn down, scratched, or damaged. But a high-grade example, especially one that looks almost brand new, can multiply in value dramatically. Professional grading services exist for this exact reason. When a coin is authenticated and graded, its story becomes official, and collectors are willing to pay serious money. Most of these pennies were never pulled from circulation. They were spent. They were dropped into jars. They were forgotten. Even today, some of them are still moving through everyday transactions, hiding among ordinary coins, waiting for someone curious enough to stop and look. There are real stories of people finding rare pennies and loose change, coffee shop counters, old piggy banks, and inherited collections. They didn't start as experts. They simply paid attention. One discovery led to another, and suddenly a simple hobby turned into a life-changing moment.